What I thought we'd do this evening is work on some of the fundamentals with movement and as well as a little freedom. One of the things that we often get caught up in is the trap of form. All right, it's a real wonderful thing to feel like that you're making progress in a form and that you are getting better. Okay, uh, but as we were kind of talking about last week, each time you come to practice, you kind of have to ask yourself, what is it that you want to practice tonight? What would you like to get better on? And getting better on form is one part of the practice, but it's by far one of the smallest pieces of practice. All right, because that's memorization of one technique after another. Memorization is usually one of the simplest of the cognitive functions. The other parts of it, like understanding what I'm doing, right? Uh, uh, what sensations am I supposed to have? Like we were working on with you, Bader, there with that one technique. Uh, do I want to be more graceful? Right? Is it coming from the legs up? Just focusing on the legs is a practice all unto itself. But my laundry list after every practice, I had the advantage of driving one way, 1 hour to Fayetteville every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and sometimes Sundays. And back in those days, in the late 80s, there was not phones and little micro cassette recorders. It was those great big cassette recorders. You remember those that took D-size batteries, right? But well, the boom boxes, yeah. But this was that cassette recorder. Anyway, yeah, the big, yeah, rectangular one. And so I would talk to myself the whole way home after practice about everything I felt like I did well, everything Sifu corrected me on, everything that maybe my classmates and I worked on. And so let's say that was a Tuesday night. Well, on Thursday evening after I leave work, the first thing I would do as I was driving to practice was listen to that tape of what I did on Tuesday night so that I would know when I walked into practice that evening exactly what techniques I was going to work on, exactly what part of those techniques was I going to be looking at to improve, who I could ask for help, right, and what were my main errors and things like that. Uh, and then come Saturday, we would go to practice, and then Sunday I would get a glass of wine and sit down and write down all my notes from Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday in a notebook and just rewrite. And I would start taking my notebook to practice so I could sketch things as I went along. But the whole point of that is that before you just start to practice, even if you already know your Tai Chi, take a moment, just get still, be quiet, and maybe just say, I'm going to practice this most graceful set that I can practice for as long as I can practice it. All right. And sometimes that will go a long way, sometimes it'll go a short way. And let's just start this evening by a little synchronization. So, what I want you to do is we're going to just take and get our mind, body, and breath together again. Let's just breathe in, push up, exhale, come down. Breathe in and push up, exhale, and come down. Give it 3 more. One more time. One hand on the abdomen, one on the chest. As you breathe in, let the breath rise up from the pelvis up to the shoulders, filling the teacup. As you exhale, empty from the shoulders down to the lower abdomen. One more time. Good. Now let the palms just face each other. Doesn't matter which one's on top. Let the low hand circle out as you breathe in, and then let it come right down the center as you exhale. Centering the mind, centering the breath. Breathe in and out. I'm going to do 3 to each side. One more to each side. Good. Let the palms face the center line. The lower dantian. And I thought what we do here in the beginning is really just learn, re-practice taking our time with our body motion. Okay. And I like using that directional set that we've practiced several times. And with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift my weight very easy over to my right leg. And I'm going to sit there for a moment. Just take a few breaths. Both feet still flat on the earth. But say 70% of my weight is on my leg here, my loaded leg. Exhale, slide it over the other way. Bruce Eads used to practice this a lot with his 9-spot posting. Shift the weight over to a side. Keep your spine upright. So don't lean when you shift. Okay. Keep yourself upright. Now exhale, come back to neutral just for a moment. Now I'm going to real easy slide my weight over and hold the baby. I'm going to take the empty leg, step out slightly to a corner, put the foot flat on the earth, keep the spine upright. And as I exhale, I'm going to begin to shift my weight over, departing horse's mane. I'm going to take my time and shift my weight up, sit on it just a little bit. When I sit a little, I'll feel my rear leg release. And when I do, I'm going to pick it up, put it slightly at a diagonal forward, flat on the earth. I'll really take my time, shift my weight. So that my hands, my arms, and my body finish together. And I'm going to let both arms rise up a little bit. As I exhale, I'm going to sit back, Forward toe is empty and up usually. As long as it's empty. Now I'm going to let my hands float up to the diagonal. My empty leg is going to step in and back. And I'm going to shift my weight, keep my spine upright, keep my body upright. Everything moves together. Let your hand empty, come to the wrist. Step out to the side. Let's thrust it out a little bit. Let it whip back. Nice and easy. And then press forward. Good. Slide back. Separate the clouds. Come together. Step out. Let it whip out a little. And come back. And then two-hand push. Return to the front where you're going to push the sky. And gather the clouds. Or bring it to a rest. Okay? Now, with that little footwork pattern, you can practice about anything you want. Okay. Again, you can decide what it is that you're trying to get better at and how you're trying to get better at it. Shifting the weight side to side is something like Kathy and I were talking about earlier. Footwork, knowing where your feet are supposed to go and how do you get there? Because sloppy footwork will breed imbalances, ungracefulness. It's just a nightmare that you can't fix with your hands. Right. So when you're sitting there, let's say, for example, spread your feet out a little bit. And that little exercise of just taking your weight, put it right in the middle. And then shifting the weight over to one leg where both feet stay flat. Now, what will happen with a lot of folks is that they'll shift. They're thinking that they shift. So you have to watch yourself because some people will shift by just throwing their hip over. Some people will shift by just tipping over. Okay. You have to keep your point of gravitation and levitation in line, abdomen and chest, and slide it over together so that the top of your head and everything is still in line. Okay. And then move it back to neutral. And then slide it the other way. I like to slide it in one direction and then hold it for about a count of 5 or 5 breaths, which turns out to be about 20 seconds or so. And then come back to neutral. All right. Any questions so far? Okay. That's pretty straightforward, but you'll be surprised at how much work just has to be done right there. Right. So that you're not flopping yourself from one side to the other. Now, once you can slide side to side, then like we sometimes do in the practice, then you can rotate some too. So when I slide to one side, I slightly turn my belly button. When I come back to neutral, my belly button and nose are straight ahead. Now when I shift over here to this side, my belly button, nose are slightly off that line. That's the best way to learn. When people ask me, where's my head supposed to be? In the beginning, in the fundamentals, you just let the head follow the shoulders so that it looks like one big compass or one big flashlight moving from one side to the other. Okay. Good. Make sure that the movement starts in your legs, not in your shoulders. Okay. And stay down on it. Right. Stay down. But what y'all have heard me say this before. When you bend your knees and you sit down, you should be at least 1 inch shorter than what you would be if you were standing up. Ideally, you'll be about 2 or 3 inches lower. When you spread your feet out and get into a good horse stance, at least 2 to 3 inches is what you're looking for. Well, as you're sliding side to side, you don't gain height. You keep your height down, okay? And then when you're ready, start letting the arms float out into your cloud hands. But keep your mind down in the legs. And look for that timing again. When you're neutral, is the belly button and nose neutral? When you're over to the side, is it to the side? Just let your head follow your shoulders for right now. Look for the timing. If you know that as one comes up, the other goes down. Remember how we've worked on the framework. It moves over, then they float, then over and float. A nice steady breath. Do one more. Okay, just bring it back to neutral for a moment and let your legs shake out some if you need to. Any observations or comments? Yes. Yeah. Bader was asking if he could do that as part of his posting. He uses Tai Chi postures as his posting regiment. All right. And if it's something that you're interested in, we can talk about it. It's not very difficult to do. It has a huge number of advantages. Wouldn't you agree? Yes, sir. Yeah. He's learned a lot just by using the things like single whip and stuff like that as part of his posting postures. Kathy, how about you? How did that feel? Okay, so no problems. Bob, any comments or? Huh? Oh, okay, smooth. Okay. All right, so let's take and we'll finish up this particular exercise with this is same mechanics in the lower body, but let's go into the dragon stirs to sea. And so as you're rolling back, you're going to be in what we normally do is calling dragon stirs to sea. Framework, float, framework, float. Ken, you're looking better. Vicky did a good job with you on Saturday. Okay. So, Kathy, one of the things, like if we wanted to practice hop on the tiger, this is a great place to add it in. So, for example, if we're going to do it the form friendly way, as I sit back this time, everything comes in, my footwork comes in, and there I am. And I'm looking out this way, hop on the tiger, pressing out. And then I step out, slide my weight. And usually what I'll do, we would normally do things in little counts. Right? So like on my third one here, like we do in the form, I slide over to this side. Put my foot back down. And I go 1, 2. Then on the third one, I slide my weight and out. Put the weight foot out. 1, 2. Here on my third one, I do the other side. Okay, go ahead and practice that for just a minute. Mm-hmm. Good. There you go. Good. One side will probably feel a little more natural than the other since you're used to doing it in the form. How's that feel, Bader? A little awkward. Especially on the. Isn't it amazing how much that can just like it just bites you like a rattlesnake sometimes, right? And that's one of the disadvantages of form. Unless the form is so repetitive that it gives you both sides, but you never try to memorize a form again like that over and over. Not the long ones. That's kind of silly. All right, let's take a little break. So, if anything out of this evening is really just trying to take and just practicing, if you, as I was saying, like what I would do is a lot of times just take my hands out of it. So if I knew that I was having problems, for example, with hop on the tiger stance, which I would know that it's a cat stance, I would just practice getting my weight down, sliding back and forth. All right. And then when I was ready, I would step and get in the cat stance and then slide over, 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 out and get my footwork. Just like you would prepare like for dance or anything like that. If you've ever practiced dancing, especially if you're the lead, your footwork has to be stable. And then the lead has to come off of that footwork. Your Tai Chi is built exactly the same. Your intention is built off of your footwork. They work together, right? And you can practice a lot of different things from right there. Any questions online? If everybody's good, just give me a thumbs up. Gotcha. Okay, thank you. All right. All right, so let's finish up. Any questions or observations before we? No, except for the fact it was awkward. All right, feet shoulder width apart. And let's just first just hold the moon. And I'd like for you to turn the palms away. Nice and quiet. I want you to imagine as if your legs all the way up to your knees are like sunk into the beach sand or in the ocean. Now, but basically from the knees down are sunk into the earth. Everything's fine. And on your next exhale, I want you to begin to move in any way that you feel like, right? But I want you to move like this tree is gently blowing in the wind. I want you to allow yourself that same freedom. Just enough flow, let yourself move. Keep your mind quiet. Let the body talk with you. It's your canvas. Have texture to your movement. Mm-hmm. Nice. Keep it smooth, not choppy. Okay. Now, very gently now, bring it back to quietness and stillness without rigidity, but just enough firmness. There's a difference between rigid and firm. That's why it's different words. You can be firm and still bend a little bit. Rigid tends to break. You can spend a whole practice just being quiet in your breath, quiet in your mind, quiet in your body. Then allow yourself to move a little bit. And then bring it back to quietness. Okay. Maybe next week in the next mental meal, I will go through some of the basic circling or movements that you can easily practice on at any time. But in the beginning, just go with what comes with you. Okay. I'm really encouraging you all to find your intention so that when you're practicing Tai Chi, you can start to find a north inside yourself. Okay. And it'll make all the difference in the world for you when you can go back and forth and quiet your mind in the process. Any questions? No? We're all good? Give me a thumbs up online if you're all good. All right. Great to see you all, and I'll see y'all next week.